We're back. Carter, the power of Bryant. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
So good to meet Megan last week. So good to reconnect with you last week in your humble abode. And my first question for you is LSU a top 5 program in the SEC?
Yes.
Yes. I don't think it's a question. But
are you reacting to Josh Pate's
Yeah.
question?
Okay. That's what I'm talking about today. So the only two that are clearly ahead are Alabama and Georgia. I would put LSU 3, but I'm okay
based off of the potential of what LSU can do when right. Yes.
Right. But going into next year, I don't know if they're a top 5 SEC team.
Okay, well, let's get right to it because that was a question that I was going to ask you here. I have seen from a national perspective, we got to get to this. I see On3 pushing it, and I'm not going to mince words. I see 247 pushing it. A lot of them are saying that they feel like that they're going to be a playoff team. Like, trust the gunslinger. They're guys, they're going to make the playoffs. Carter, I'm not trying to be rude to some of these people. I know it's the offseason. You better calm your ass down. I want them to be in the playoff more than anybody. Us in the business want them to be in the playoff more than anybody. Let me ask anybody from the national media. Who's starting at DB?
Right. No, I'm with you. Yeah. I mean,
who's starting in the interior of your defensive line?
I'm with you. I'm at 1,000%.
Who's left guard and right tackle going to be?
That, offensive line way better than me. That's
are
why.
You going to be better than 107th in the on the season in rushing? You had 116.4 rush yards per game. You were 107.
Yeah, and this isn't hating. It's just these are facts. Yeah, it's not.
You can't dispute. I know you're trying to get clicks. I get it. But people say that I'm clickbaity. Bullshit, I'm clickbaity. That's clickbaity.
Yeah.
We're talking about the truth here. I'm going to let you go. So go. No. You're seeing this. What do you think?
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams on the schedule next year that do not match up well against LSU in terms of quarterbacks who can run. There are some freaking blazers there. And Blake, it was never proven really at all that LSU could stop that, especially in like a regular like game setting. And, I don't think Lenore Sellers and DJ Lagway are ridiculous, but they are unbelievably talented. And you played a DJ Lagway last year that couldn't run. He had a bad hamstring. I freaking love DJ Lagway. I sat down and watched him very closely. I wondered what the heck happened in those final 2 games. And it was still good. Like, even though his QBRs were way down. So, yeah, I mean, I'm still very bullish on the long-term future of LSU. I'm with you. I still think this team can make the playoff. This team, I feel, will be a better team than what it was last year. But, man, Clemson's going to be good. And the thing is, like, this is probably Clemson's best wide receiver room since the T. Higgins room in 2019. So that's tough because Clemson's had some issues putting skill guys on the outside. Wesco and those guys are going to be good. So it's tough.
Listen, again, I mean, I want them to make the playoff.
Yeah.
And look, I get labeled negative. I come in here and don't push sunshine and rainbows and get labeled negative. I'm not going to push sunshine and rainbows for you. Brother, you were 8-4 last year, and you got questions that you got answered. Or you got to answer.
Yeah. And
I mean, Carter, under Brian Kelly, you've never been better than 75th in third down defense, ever.
Yeah, and Blake, this was something I broke down on Patreon, and everyone could go check it out on Patreon. I'm going to talk about it on my show tonight. But to me, the biggest story in college football that is not discussed, outside of the obvious ones, which is NIL, transfer portal, all of that, expanded playoff, the future of the sport. One drastic change is the amount of possessions played per game has gone down. So it's not just the amount of plays, it's the amount of possessions. Now, why is that the case? Well, some of it is
the running clock.
But a lot of it is just fourth down aggression. And the quarterbacks are better. There's just better quarterbacks now than what it used to be, especially in the SEC and the portal. Almost every team you're going to play is going to have good quarterback play. So LSU, look, the prime of LSU has been turnovers, right? Having a defense that just terrorizes you. The best LSU teams pre-Joe Burrow were turnover merchants. And guys just don't turn the rock over as much. The quarterbacks are better. The OCs are better. So what that means is if your possessions are down, that means your team needs to be more efficient. And LSU last season was a big inefficient, very inefficient. You could talk about running the ball, but so much of LSU was third and long conversions. Garrett, go make a play for us. And as many of us know, on third down, Garrett is going to make, a big play 8 times out of 10. But the other 2 times, when you're asking him to do it over and over, it's going to turn into disasters. So, with possessions going down, the value of being on time, being on schedule, having a great plan is so important, especially next year, Blake, in a conference that is full of coaching wizards. So it's going to be big next year.
Listen, I know people want to point to this and that. Listen, fine. Every year people blast me on me being too negative. And more times than not, the reality starts setting in that what we said is going to probably come to bear. Okay? I thought you would be able to run the football a little bit better last year. I did.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
Yeah.
I thought that offensively that you were going to go after it in 12 personnel under center. Carter, I went out there and wasted my time.
Yeah.
You're running stuff that we never ran. I know we talked about this before, but I mean, because the media is there, you're running something different. Then don't let us in there.
It was 12. It was high IQ stuff. If you're running stuff that the media can see, you can make
They ran hardly nothing that we saw in the first team periods.
So with Alex Atkins here, we got to be more counter.
Yeah, we haven't. So we hadn't talked about that. So I was going to get to that next.
Yeah.
So I agree with the national to end this kind of segment here. I agree that the pause button has got to get hit from this national media push. They're going to make the playoff. I think that the potential and ceiling is them to be there. I saw people this week and last week. We did a whole Ruffino's rants on this and clipped the video. I know you were at the Super Bowl, so me and you didn't discuss this. People are saying the floor is 9 wins. No.
No.
That means if every bit of chaos that goes around you happens, your floor is 9? Are you like? Thank you for telling me that you don't know this team or football, because there is no way. No. If Garrett comes back into the season next year and turns the ball over like he did, you don't run the ball better, you're not going to be better than 9 wins. Sorry, you're not. The numbers just bear that out. You can't have that many turnovers and not be able to run the football and think that you're going to be better. It's not realistic.
Yeah, and I know out of us two, I'm the bigger Garrett defender, if you will. But you're right. You can't turn.
I hate the kid, but
no. Yeah, but
17 turnovers.
No. I know you don't, but it's just you just have to be more efficient. I spend. That's why.
Why? Can I ask you a question? Why is that a problem?
What, running the ball?
No. Why is it a problem that I say that you can't turn the ball over 17 times and people go, he hates Garrett? Can you tell me why people think that?
I don't know. You tell me.
I'm seriously asking. It blows my mind. Nobody will have this conversation with my ass. Nobody.
No, I'm sitting here having with you. You can't turn the ball over, and a lot of it is it's just so much on his shoulder, right? I mean,
no doubt.
And one thing I will say is I actually went back and rewatched that Ole Miss drive, and I'm like, holy crap! I mean, it's
the final one.
Yeah, I was like, that's just quarterback mastery, really. And hopefully you see more of that next year with Caden Durham and the whole shebang.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
Right, and to give you one NFL angle on it, it was weird because the run games decided the Super Bowl, right? The Kansas City shelled out to stop Saquon, and the Chiefs couldn't run on a defense playing straight quarters, which is crazy. And they ran the ball well.
They drafted the entire state of Georgia.
They did
at D-line. I mean, it's just, let's call it what it is. Okay, that's number one. But Carter, go bigger than that. I can give you the last 6 years of teams that can say the same thing in college football. The best team that can defend and the best rushing team won the what? Unless you have a Mahomes, you better do that. If you are not transcendent at quarterback, you better do that. You can get away with it with special dudes. Jayden Daniels and the Redskins or Commanders had no business being in the NFC Championship game. Zero.
No. That's why if I had an MVP vote, I would have given it to Jayden. If we're talking straight value, that Commanders team was bad. That was not a good roster that he dragged to the NFC Championship game. Now Terry McLaurin is a superstar, but
I agree.
Still, I mean that was ridiculous. He got that far.
All right, I want to get to this too with you because there were some coaching hires that were made, and we hadn't been able to talk about it. Let's go to Alex Atkins first. Yeah. Your thoughts on Alex Atkins and what he brings to LSU's run game?
Yeah, this is a guy well-versed in counter. I watched him do a full exhibit. You can actually pull this up on CoachTube if you want. And this guy loves that concept. Now, that doesn't mean he's like just married to it. But, Florida State is the counter team in college football. Everyone knows that that's what they're known for. And LSU, as far as their counter success, is a mixed bag, to say the least. And ironically, the greatest LSU rushing performance in history was just counter versus Florida, Ty Davis Price a few years ago. And if that offensive line could run it, you would hope this iteration of the LSU offensive line can run it. But then again, if you are the run game coordinator, it could just be a name, right? It could just be, hey, we're still going to do what Sloan and Kelly want to do. But I would think about becoming a counter team. The key is, Blake, as you mentioned, it's not just running the football better. It's who are you? What is your go-to run play? Obviously the 49ers, the best rushing scheme
and outside zone.
It's outside zone. So they get good at running outside zone. That's what they're known for, right? Not every running back is an outside zone running back. Mike Allstott's one of the best running backs I've ever seen, fullback, whatever. He's not an outside zone guy. So, you're going to have to, mix your personnel with what you have, right? But if you bring him in and that he has had success running the football at Florida State with Trey Benson and all the hosses that they have there, if this guy knows what a successful rushing attack looks like, and he suggests to Joe Sloan, hey, let's see if we could become a counter-based team. I would love to see it. And that was part of the problem, Blake, is last year you had Will Campbell saying, we're going to run the football and you can't do anything about it. And they got
punched in the mouth.
Right. And two things were happening. Number one, the guys weren't playing that well. And then number two, they lacked an identity. And then number three, on top of that, the play calling sequencing a lot of times just did not make sense. And it was very predictable. A lot of second down runs, a lot of, hey, if Caden Durham's in a pistol, it's going to be outside zone, right or left. And those things all need to get cleaned up. So let Alex come in here if that's what he wants to do, and he thinks that our personnel can match with it. Let's see what he can do.
Need some athletic guards. I think that you do have athletic guards, but the problem is they're freshmen. Now you have Josh Thompson, so that will be interesting to see how good that he can come in here and perform. the problem with the counter and how teams had to try to defend Florida State is that if you over pursued at the end, at the rush or whoever you're identifying, sometimes they would run it and identify the D tackle. Okay. They would stop and hold because Jordan Travis would pull it and run. Garrett ain't going to do that. Okay. It is not going to happen.
Yeah.
The only way around that would be to sark it. What do I mean by that? You have a tight end or an H-back, and then you'll just go underneath. That's a lot of moving parts now. It's a lot of moving parts. You're going to have to run that and complete that before that gets fixed, or have somebody in the flat for him if he wants to throw it. You do that enough, you come down, you do that enough, well, it's going to really – they got stuff that they got to figure out there. To your point, I think the bigger point in this, you're going to find out really quickly who's calling plays in the run game. Because either you're running counter and you're doing things, and no, it's going to be Joe Sloan, baby. I mean, or Alex has been who he's been. I mean, it's all that we know. They even tried to run counter last year without him. I think that's a little bit of a Mike Norvell thing. But, here's the thing, too. You're right on one massive thing. You do not have an identity in the running game. And that is a fact. Okay? Without a quarterback that can move, you do not have an identity. Carter, I'm telling you now, more than Garrett. There's nothing Garrett. If Garrett stayed the same and nothing changed, which I don't think is going to happen, if you can't run the football, it's not going to matter what he does. Without a doubt. So that entire unit has got to be better.
Yeah.
The play calling's got to be better there too. Yeah. Do you worry about the tight end room from a receiving standpoint because the O-line coach is going to be in that room?
Yeah, I don't worry about, their ability to catch. It's just, what is it even going to look like? It's just going to be so drastic because Mason Taylor just never left the field. I mean, the whole Brian Kelly era, one guy has played this one position. I could say the same thing basically about left tackle and right tackle, but Mason.
Also say that about safety,
right? But it's God. You've got to figure out who your guy or guys will be, and I just like Donovan Green. I really did think he was fine at Texas A&M. Now, some Texas A&M fans, when he left, it was like, okay, no big loss. But I think he's
zero production last year, literally.
Right. I guess I'm a little bit more optimistic about him, and then obviously Trey Green and Bauer Sharp in that room, and maybe JD LaFleur is that guy. Maybe he comes in and helps that room immediately, but I'm not so sure about that. So we'll see. But finding who your guys are there is going to be huge.
It's going to be paramount. Lance Guidry, a defensive assistant here. I played it on the show last week or 2 weeks ago that we clipped before coaching hires were ever made. I basically said who the tight ends coach is going to be and what I think they would do with assistants. Lance Guidry is coming in here to coach Harold Perkins. I'm fully convinced. I don't know that from a source standpoint. I think they're going to move Perk to star. I think they're bringing in a safeties coach to coach safeties. I think they're telling Jake Olson without telling Jake Olson, better fix it, bud. Blake, he better fix it. Lance Guidry has been a safeties coach for a long time. I think they're going to put him at star because he can be on the field coaching him at all times. I think Harold Perkins needs somebody to be one-on-one with him and unleash him in the role that he should be. I don't know what he's going to be from injury, but the reason I like this Lance Guidry thing more than anything, unless you do slide protections on your O-line, which most teams do not do these days. They don't slide like they used to. If you put Perk at star and he rushes the passer, he's going to be up against tight ends and running backs, and he's going to win that matchup. I think you need to move him there. He's better than he 1,000% is better than anything Major Barnes has ever done in his career. It's an upgrade. The thing is that when you put him there, either you're going to run zone or he's going to come. Pause.
Yeah,
you're not going to play man-to-man with him, right? So, I mean, he's a man without a position. But you're paying this guy to be a safeties coach. Bob Diaco was not helping Blake Bakers with linebackers. He wasn't. I was there. He wasn't doing anything. It was Blake Baker's show. At safety, I think it's going to be the complete opposite. I think Lance is going to be in that room. I would not be surprised if you hear midway through the offseason here that he's kind of taking that room over. But when Lance Guidry coming in here, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, so the first thing, obviously, is this guy loves Louisiana. He's coached. A lot of coaches won't admit this, but when you're from Louisiana, you're coaching the lower tier of Louisiana schools, everybody wants to coach at LSU. So, he's pretty pumped up, especially knowing how Miami fans kind of threw him under the bus after this 1 year. And I could understand Miami fans being frustrated. But,
we'd have to have a conversation if he's ever promoted to D.C.
Absolutely, because I can understand Miami fans hating his guts because
they also hated Blake Baker.
True, but Manny Diaz and Blake Baker, I mean, that was just ugh. But
so crazy. Manny's had 2 top 10 defenses though since he's left Miami.
Yeah, he's good. But anyway, look, I'm not even sure if any coach at this point can solve the safety room in its current iteration.
I agree.
And that's the tough thing, right? You have Jake Olson, who's a young coach. Obviously, Lane's coming in is going to help with that. And yeah, Blake, it's weird. Going back to the playoff discussion, I actually went and looked up the PFF grades, and I looked at a few positions where, especially outside of quarterback, where a lot of the teams in the playoff were very strong, and safety was just constantly popping up. Just all those playoff teams had really, really, really good safety rooms, and obviously LSU had the worst in the SEC, and it's tough, going from worst to first. It's something you can do in the portal era, but it's something.
But you still missed.
Yeah, and
unless DeMarcus Cooley comes in here and does something that we don't foresee yet, or some of these guys develop. I mean, but Carter, other than that, you're hopeful thinking here.
It's a problem. I would have paid Michael Taff even Texas and said, "Come over, help us." I would have gotten just and I think he's good. I don't think he's great, but that's basically it. I'm not looking for Jamal Adams, Caleb Downs. I'm looking for John Battles, guys that I just know I could trust to play the safety role. And the funny thing about it, Blake, is to me, it is a hard position to play, but I don't think it's one of the harder ones on defense. I would say corner and edge are probably the 2 toughest. That's why they get paid the most. But you just need reliable safety play, and right now I just don't think it's there for LSU.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Camp opens up in less than a month, the 8th. So I mean, I know you start off by saying Pate here, but he's right on one thing. There really is no offseason from football. Whether you like it, love it, or hate it, there is no offseason. We talk it all year. You do too.
Well, let me ask you a national question.
Okay.
About, canceling spring games.
I think Matt Rule is very soft. That's what I think.
But then Sark.
You want to know my God's honest opinion on that? You're gonna make me say it on live national YouTube?
Yeah, go on.
It's still soft, and it questions me you getting over the hump.
So
you have spent more. The reason Texas has been so good in football is now that they can go out in the open and spend the money that they had to hide that they could do. Let's call what the Colin Simmons thing's what it is. Let's call it what it is. I mean, I feel pretty damn confident about what happened. It's not that LSU didn't go down swinging, because they went down swinging. I know what happened. Texas came in there and said, no. Did the same thing with Cade Phillips.
Yeah.
So you're doing that. I could understand the reasoning of what he's trying to say. But listen, don't get twisted that NIL has made Texas to be back. They've had the last 2 years they've been in the Final Four. Like, what are you talking about? They're better than you? Like, you want to shit on Texas, they're better than you. It's soft. But we have got I'm going to be real with you. We've gotten soft. We've gotten soft. The game on the field, though, is going back to old school principles. I don't give two shits what anybody tells me. What do all 6 national champions have in common? And the teams that they beat, what was their biggest issues? Want to know all of them? One team could run the football and play good defensively. The other was ass cheeks. That's the truth.
We should go full old school. Leather helmets. Bring it back.
Carter,
bring it all back.
Name one.
No, I'm with you. I mean, look.
Carter, if I would have hold on 1 second. If I would have told you after the Joe Burrow season, before COVID even happened, that you would have a walk-on quarterback that would win 2 national titles and a guy that got benched at Kansas State would go to Ohio State and win a national championship, what would you say?
No, I would be perplexed, shocked, hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok.
Mac Jones won a national title in the last 6 years. Mac Jones. Who?
McCorkle. I still love that. Dude, that is the best name of all time. Why would you not stick with McCorkle? I freaking love me some McCorkle. But
you get my gist here, though. You get what I'm saying.
But my thing. So you think spring games should remain?
Are kids really hitting the spring portal like that?
No.
Then it's a non-issue.
Yeah, he's just trying to get out of it.
It's lazy.
Let Nebraska fans enjoy a game where they don't have to suffer. I mean, please.
Matt, hold on. During the season, Matt Rule literally came out and said that he was going to dispose of 50 players, and he's got to bring new personnel in here. And now you're mad that other teams are trying to come after you went after them? Ask Missouri if Matt Rule tampers.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Williams-Nuwari says hello.
Look, give Nebraska fans something. I mean, they are the best fans of college football. They know they're never going to be back. Give them a spring game. Nebraska fans freaking love.
God, it's so soft. Listen, cancel it. Go ahead. Chicken out. So goddamn soft.
No, I read that. I was like, wait, why? I was like, just run 44 blasts every time if you're scared of people poaching your players.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? Don't throw one pass. And if you do, guess what? Run stick routes and fade routes the entire time.
Right. Yeah, just run 4 verts and slants and sticks. That's it.
Can I tell you the truth? I know an SEC defensive coordinator very well. You know that I know him because there have been times where we've talked about conversations that I've had with this DC.
Yeah. I know it is, yeah.
I promise if I called him right now, and nobody would know who he is, but he has a unique voice, so you would know who it is. If I called him right now and I said, have you ever broken down spring game film of other teams? I guarantee you he would say no.
No. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah.
Another thing. Ed Orgeron's son pointed to Ed Orgeron about the Ohio State spring game and the backup quarterback. These coaches don't give a shit about the spring game.
Nobody. And speaking of Coach O, I met the best Coach O impersonator on the planet at Super Bowl.
Frank Caliendo. You know what? We hadn't even got to this, and I got to get you out of here.
Not Frank Caliendo.
Who? Oh, Joey Molinaro.
Joey Molinaro, elite. He is not a good human. He is an elite human.
You got 2 minutes, though. You got 2 minutes. I got to ask you this, though, because I got to get you out of here. No. Kellen Moore to the Saints. Your thoughts?
Oh, I'm excited. I like Kellen, the person. I think he's a very affable guy. I think he'll be great in that locker room. I do NFL film breakdowns. I'm not smart enough to tell you whose offensive play calling I love the most outside of Andy Reid's. But Kellen Moore's fine. I think with where the Saints were in the process, I think he's going to be pretty excited to have his first opportunity here. But Blake, this is so important not only in college but in the NFL now. You've got to have a good front office now. I mean, with how sharp these guys are, I mean, look, the Eagles Super Bowl was won. Yes, and won a lot on the back of a trade with the Saints, right? So for those that don't know, the Eagles and the Saints traded picks a few years ago. Long story short, those picks got the Saints Chris Olave and Trevor Penning, and the Eagles got A.J. Brown, Jalen Carter, and Cooper DeJean, and more picks.
And people are literally on Twitter fighting me about Mickey Loomis.
Oh, yeah. Was he on a all-time heater? Yeah. I mean, he will go down.
He had a one draft heater.
He was mostly fine, around those times. But the 2017 Saints draft is arguably the best draft of all time, and they got sniped on Patrick Mahomes, which is crazier. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, it's been downhill, and it's so important in this day and age to have smart GMs out in college and in the NFL. So there's a lot of things Kellen Moore's got to overcome. And even if he sucks and it's clear that he's in over his head, Blake, you've got to give him at least 2 years because the team's not going to be that good next year, and you got to give him time to.
No, what do you do with Derek Carr? And look, I think the Saints media, all of them keep saying this. They're wrong. Last thing, and I'll get you out of here, I promise. This kick the salary cap can down the road is bullshit. It's complete bullshit.
Yeah, the Eagles spend the most.
Yeah, but they're also doing that complimentary based off of they're not that bad when it comes. Like, if the Saints had the personnel that the Eagles had, it would justify what they're doing.
Oh, okay. I see the point you're making. Yeah.
Right? Like, you're doing that and you're getting your teeth kicked in. So then you're not in a favorable position to go get talent that you actually need.
All right. So one of my favorite mock drafters, Hayden Winks, had the Saints giving up a lot to trade up to number 1 to get Cam Ward.
Listen.
Would you be down?
Cam Ward is turnover prone. I think it is a risk. It is a risk. You got to go get a quarterback. This league, you got to go get a quarterback. But here's the thing. I mean, at least Jaden had Terry McLaurin, but he had a tomato can at the other wide receiver. You don't have a receiver unless Chris Olave stays healthy.
Wait, hold on. I'm not going to let you leave talking down Rashid Shaheed like this.
I keep hearing hold on. I keep hearing Rashid. Carter, you do realize that he's borderline. He's got like 3 more games that he's played that he's been out from injury.
Oh, yeah, he's been hurt.
I mean, but you do realize that there's a 50-50 shot that he does not play historically in his career. I get the production, but is he going to play the entire season?
Yeah, and the same thing, like you just said about
Chris Olave.
Right.
I'm not being Carter. You do not have a number 1 wide receiver. You have an aging running back that you gave an extension to, who, quite frankly, why?
I was fine with that. I honestly was fine with that. But I wouldn't do the Cam Ward thing. I do think he's the best quarterback in the draft.
If this were Jaden Daniels, I would trade the entire draft.
Oh my God. I would give the Saints my leg if they wanted it. For you do you want to know what's interesting about?
They should have done it last year.
The most I've ever been trashed on Twitter over a take, and there have been aplenty, was when I said the Saints should have picked up the phone and called the Bengals and said, "We'll give you everything to trade up and get Joe Burrow," and people freaking destroyed me. I know that they're going to hang up the phone, but you got to ask. You just had the worst trade in NBA history just happen. These are not the smartest people running these organizations. You never know when someone could say, you know what? Fine, let's do it. Joe Burrow, let's get. You never know. So if I was a GM, I would offer trades, especially now.
Here's the thing that I think you could do. It's a little risk, but if you lose a second-round pick over it, you have two of them. You just got to hit on the one of them. You have the 40th pick and the 47th pick, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You could go Jackson Dart.
Oh, no.
All right, I'm just going to tell you something. Here's some sourcing for your ass. All right, you're going to be sitting here around.
Be a second-round pick. I really do think it'll be a second-round pick. That's just not.
He'll give you more production in this offense than Derek Carr's bitch ass.
Oh, so you think Jackson Dart can play in the league?
More than Derek Carr, yes. In this offense, yes. Derek Carr is going to break a hip. He's going to break a hip.
Yeah, I don't see it with Jackson Dart as an NFL.
No, I don't either. But I said it's a risk. You're going to run out there with Spencer Rattler? Then what you going to do at quarterback?
So you're out on Spencer Rattler altogether.
I've been out. Everybody trying to juice him up during the offseason, you were idiots. I called you. I told you that you do not watch college football if you wanted Spencer Rattler's ass.
I think he's a good clipboard holder. I think he's a good backup. But
he will be a good backup. He's not a starter in this league, and y'all know it. Thank you for confirming you don't watch college football. Bro, I get out of here.
But I'm trying to think of the Saints. Man, I would call about Matthew Stafford. Hell,
what about Jameis Winston?
Yes, I'd be down with that too. If you're going to go down swinging, go down fun. Hey, it'd be fun.
Very true.
All right, buddy.
The Power 8:15, correct?
Yeah, man. And you're always welcome to jump on if you're bored later.